I like it. So hello, I'm Tori Henderson, and I am playing with my technology here, sharing my screen with y'all. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. So thank you for your patience. This is our recording. There's Patricia, you're on the screen too. Look at her, she's all getting ready for work. Okay, so I am going to talk about connecting with teens today. So I'm going to flip over here to my slide. There's a better picture of me than this grainy video. So my name is Tori Henderson. I'm a life coach, teacher, and speaker. And Patricia, if you could mute, then it will make the line clearer. I think it's and my website is lifecoachingforparents.com. I have another website. So I have lots of experience with teens and, preteens actually. I teach a sex education class for 9 to 12-year-olds to take with their parents. And that is at timeforthetalk.com. And that's an in-person class, but we also have an online version that we sell for parents to watch at home with their kids. So I've been teaching that for like 20 years or something, where it makes me feel really old to say it. And that has always been fun for me, but that's been one way I've been able to hang out with kids and their parents and have fun. And always kind of playing around and trying out new things, because even though sex education doesn't change, the last 2 days of class we do like values and healthy decision making, and we talk about dealing with sexual harassment and some of the other kind of more social emotional things, dealing with peer pressure that come up around, the kids are going to be facing in middle school, but maybe they haven't faced yet. So that's how I play with kids. And then life coaching for parents is my day job, and I'm a certified life coach with Martha Beck and the Life Coach School. I used to be a classroom teacher. And in order to kind of have fun and play in the summertime and make more money, I decided to start a girls leadership camp that is for 12 to 14-year-olds. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, what I do and what I'm going to teach to you guys, those of you who are attending in Austin, what I'm going to be walking you through in as far as my getting what you want. I used to call it a life coaching camp, and I quickly learned that girls thought it was for kids with problems. That term did not settle well with them. And so I changed it to a life coaching and leadership camp, and then eventually to leadership camp, because they're so hesitant at this age. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is teens from, really 12, we'll say 13 to 17, and kind of how to connect with them and how to make things palatable for them so that they can digest it. So you are in the right place if you have or are interested in teaching workshops for girls. If you're a life coach, a teacher, a counselor, Girl Scout leader, or a mentor for girls, like you might already have a group and you just want some ideas of fun things to do with them and play with them, or you want to create a group. So first I want to make sure that everybody got the replay. I sent out the replay for the 5 powerful life lessons girls can learn from friendship drama. So if you didn't get that replay in an email, I'm trying to include it in the emails that I'm sending out. So if you want a copy of it, just email me if you didn't get it. But I wanted to make sure you knew it got out, and if you have any technical problems or anything, just let me know. I am totally here for you by email, although today my phones are out. So I'm really glad I was hosting this call on the internet. Because I would not have had a phone to talk on. So Launching Girl Leaders is what is my Austin event. So this is a Training the Trainer mastermind event in Austin, geared towards life coaches, teachers, youth group leaders who want curriculum ideas. They want games, they want activities, they want ideas of things to do with girls really of any age. The things I'm going to teach you could teach with adults, you could teach mother-daughter workshops, or you could scale it down and teach to, girls 7 and up. But it's going to be so awesome. And so we're going to be doing activities, art projects, games, and lessons, but in a hands-on way. When you're teaching with adults, you can sit and talk and lecture for a long time. And adults, if they're interested in the subject, they're interested. But kids need to move their bodies. They need to integrate the lesson, and teenage girls especially need to experience it before they believe it. So just because you tell them something doesn't mean they're going to buy in. I like to tell them something and then experience it, practice it, play it out, play a game, and then reflect on it. And what did they take away from it? What lessons did they gain or learn? So that no adult is telling them what to think or believe, because that will be met with resistance. And I call it teaching girls how to be leaders in their own lives, because I would not have signed up for a leadership camp when I was in middle school. I wanted to be invisible. I wanted to blend in. And there was no way in heck I wanted to be what I considered a leader, which was kind of bossy and, you know, kind of putting yourself out there way more than I was ready to. So I like to say a leadership camp, but it's about being a leader in your own life first. And I just love that. So connecting with teens. So teen girls can be a tricky bunch. Pre-teen is so much easier. It's why I love teaching fourth grade. They still love you, and they will still admit that they love you. So this I see as the 9 to 12-year-old age range. You tell them you've got this fun camp where you play games and learn about yourself, and learn about friendships and how to resolve conflict and who do you want to be, and they're all in. It's a great age range. But when they hit 13, something happens. And of course, girls are different, but if you're talking about kind of as a whole, they just get a little bit trickier, okay? So it's like I wanted the challenge. So I took 12 to 14-year-olds, which I find to be the hardest. 15, 16, 17, they actually kind of ease up. It's really that 13 to 14-year-old girls that are kind of the toughest age. To introduce them to a new concept, unfamiliar, outside their comfort zone. They kind of, they want to be away from their friends and meet new people, but at the same time, they're scared too. They kind of want to be with the people that are familiar. So it's just, you remember, it's a tough time. But that's why I like to offer it to them, because they need it. They appreciate it and need it more, maybe even more than girls the other ages. But you still can have awkwardness at younger ages. I know my daughter's 11 and she's already into that stage of, I don't want to do anything that isn't cool or whatever anybody else is doing. And she's really getting more into that insecure age. So teens appreciate these lessons, but they will never admit it to you. So I was used to teaching parents. I do a lot of parent education, and afterwards they're so polite and nice, and they come up to us, that was a really great class. Oh, I loved your talk. You were so, and fills my heart and my ego. Teenagers don't do that. They might love it, but you wouldn't know. You can't read their face sometimes. And the first time I offered this girls leadership camp, the moms would drop their daughters off at my house. I did it at my home, and they'd whisper to me, she's really enjoying the camp. Like, they couldn't even allow their daughters to overhear the mom saying it. And I got a lot of blank faces. It was hard to read. I was used to doing public speaking where you read the audience. And with these girls, I'm like, now granted, my first group, I had 11 introverts out of 12. So that explains some reasons. But it was really hard to know if they were getting it or not. I knew I was having fun, and I liked what I was teaching. So I tried to stay in my own business. But it wasn't until the end where, luckily, I knew better. I did written evaluations. And I was blown away by how major the feedback was, and how significant, and how much they really did enjoy it. And what they took away from it blew my mind, because I wouldn't have known that if I was just looking at their faces. So just good to remember that with teenagers, if you want them to say anything nice to you, or, just sometimes it's hard for them they don't know if it's cool to admit that they like you or that they like the camp. And so they just won't. They'll wait for somebody else to do it. So teens appreciate these lessons, but it's not something you go into to get your ego needs met. They crave authenticity. They really need us to be authentic. But the good news is they don't need us to be perfect. In fact, the more mistakes that we make and we handle it well, like, oh, clearly this is not working. Clearly I should have, thought this out more, or I think I missed a step in the directions of this game. The more authentic you can be with them, the more they respond and they love it. Or like, gosh, I'm kind of feeling embarrassed because I thought this was going to go smoother. I thought you guys were going to like this, but it seems like you guys aren't loving this. Whatever it is, the more authentic you can be, the better for them. They want to feel normal. They want to feel accepted, and they need to feel safe in order to get that. And so creating that environment where, adults can get into a room, especially life coaches, we can usually dive into our deepest, darkest, nitty-gritty secrets pretty easily, especially if you're an extroverted life coach like me. I do not keep much private, but these teen girls are the opposite of that. And so really helping them slowly become comfortable is so key to having a group of teenagers at any age. And really adults too. And because that's not my way, I didn't get that at first. I had to experience some not so great situations before I realized they don't just start opening up just because you want them to. And I wrote, teens check out when your ego checks in. And gosh, you can hear, when they talk about their teachers at school, you can really see this, if ever it becomes about the teacher or about like me looking good or sounding good, or I want to show you all that I know and I'm smarter than you are, anytime there's any of that coming up into play with teen girls, they physically, their bodies might be there, but mentally they will just like tune out. They feel it, and it's not even conscious. They're just like, because it's kind of like, they're at a very self-focused age. Everything is naturally kind of about them in their minds. And so it's great when a life coach can cater to that. And that's why I think life coaches are so perfect for this work, because we're trained to not make it about us. And when we in life coach training, it's like, oh, I have no idea what's right for you. You tell me, because I could totally be wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong. I assume it. That works so well with teenagers. I can't even tell you. Because they already think they know everything, so it just feeds into their innate brilliance. So here you've got these teenage girls who rebel against any attachments we may have. If we're attached to them liking it, them liking us, if we're attached to the outcome and we have a certain idea of how it's supposed to go, if we're attached to, I don't know, just like a certain picture in our minds, they kind of rebel against it. They feel our neediness and that attachment to how they're supposed to react. And they're just like, so they rebel against neediness, which is really a great life lesson for us. They rebel against phoniness. Boy, they could spot a fake a mile away. Any kind of lying or unclear, disrespectful boundaries, any lack of integrity, any character weakness we may have, or place we are stuck in our emotional immaturity, they feel it. And they might not know it, but they feel it physically in their bodies, and they rebel unconsciously. They're just like, this kind of distance themselves and disregard and dismiss, and they lose respect for us. They're like the wisest creatures on the planet, I think. And this is not just girls, but we're talking about girls because we're talking about girls' leadership camps, but boys too at this age. Really, 14 is the peak of intuitive awareness, your ability to notice and observe things around you and other people. And it's why it's such a stressful age, because we often assume, like, we feel it, and it's like physically in the body. It might not even be our stuff, but it's like, okay, she's grumpy, suddenly I'm grumpy. And I don't even know if it's because of me or because of her. Does that make sense? So I like to think of teenage girls as our spiritual teachers, because they won't allow us to be anything other than fully evolved, amazing beings. But they're super forgiving. If you make a mistake or you're imperfect, like I said, that's what they want. They need to see it's okay for us to make mistakes and to move past and on. So it really is, in my opinion, if it's so hard, why do it? Because that's the most fun and engaging spiritual path out there. I think it's so much more fun than sitting on a mountaintop meditating for 12 hours a day. I think it's better than visiting an ashram. We know that we're helping them. And yet we're helping ourselves too. Like, this is how we get to see, like a mirror. The girls are great at mirroring back to us. Where are we in our emotional immaturity, or where are we still attached? I have learned so much by teaching these teenage girls, and sometimes about forgiveness and about imperfection and acceptance of myself, while learning to also be really, really honest and authentic. But the reason we should do it is because we remember what it was like to be that age. You know, we wouldn't be drawn to teaching these girls if we didn't remember what it felt like and what we wished we would have had at that age, and how we would have loved a class like this, a workshop about social and emotional intelligence and friendships. And so many times the girls just say, oh, I love that I'm normal. Like, I really liked learning that what I'm feeling is normal. Oh, just, simple things like that. You can't tell them they're normal and have them believe you, but you can show them that this is what girls typically experience at age 11, 12, 13, 14. And they listen to that and they're like, oh, that's me. And it feels so good for them. So who else should be teaching them this stuff than someone who has compassion, has a real understanding, perhaps maybe got a little stuck there at 14. Sometimes I think, did I ever grow out of being a teenage girl? I might still be there because I'm still highly sensitive and I'm still very intuitive, and I still let other people's emotions affect me in the same way. And so I think I'm supposed to teach these girls, because who else should? They need it, and the rewards are huge, and it's the most fun spiritual teaching out there. So does anybody have any questions before I continue on and with connecting with teenage girls? If you have a question, you can unmute or you can chat and let me know. Or as we go along, feel free. I know my voice gets tiresome. Okay. I'll close that. So what moms are good for? So this is a really great age for other adult women to step in and give some things that moms can't give them, okay, some offerings. So teen girls need their moms to set clear and loving boundaries for sure, right? They really want their moms to not just be their best friend, but to say, this is acceptable, this is unacceptable, I love you, but you're not allowed to date until you're 15, or whatever the boundaries are, doesn't matter. I expect you to not have sex until I think of sex because I teach sex ed, but you're not allowed to wear a skirt that short, whatever it is. They want their moms to set those boundaries when asked privately. Moms are good to respect girls for who they are, even as their differences grow. So this is one thing when I coach parents, a lot of times, this is the problem. Like, we are so bonded and connected with our children, and we feel like we know them so well. We know who they are and their essence and their spirit. And then they hit adolescence and they start trying on new personalities like they're trying on new clothes. Maybe I've outgrown that. A lot of times they'll have played a sport for 10 years and suddenly they're like, yeah, I'm done. I'm retiring. Like, been there, done that. It's like, I need to explore who I am. If I'm not a soccer player, if I'm not a dancer, then who am I? Because if you have a sport or an activity that becomes a big part of you, adolescence is about figuring out who you are. It's forming a new identity. Who am I as an adult? And who am I going to be as a woman? And so the kids want to shed parts of and sometimes that's friendships that they want to shed. And sometimes it's personality characteristics. And I'm laughing because I'm dealing with this with my own teenager. I know he is a big-hearted, service-oriented kid. But he is at this stage where he doesn't want to, even though he enjoys it so much, he does not want to be of service to others right now at this life because nobody else is doing that. He loves hanging out with homeless people, but that's not cool for teenage boys to do. So I have to allow him to explore who he is without that side of himself, even though back in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it'll reemerge, you know? So moms are great for respecting the girls as they are and then allowing their differences to grow as they explore them or as they become different from mom. You know, and mom's like, I would never do that. I struggle with that with my daughter because I have this high need for everybody to like me, and my daughter could care less. And she's not always very nice about it. So I have to allow her to be different. Teen girls love to vent to their moms and not have them fix it. So mom is a great dumping ground, sorry to say. And life coaches struggle with this sometimes because we're like, okay, that's just the thought that you're thinking in your head. And you could think of a different thought and you could have a different perspective. And we see that they're creating their own drama. But once the girls dump on their moms, they feel better. Moms often feel worse. So we need to coach ourselves. And, but girls really like it when they can vent to their moms. Moms are great for noticing, encouraging their child's interests, passions, and problems, you know, like kind of encouraging them to solve their own problems and to be a consistent and loving presence. So those are really great things that moms provide, but it's a great age for other adults to step in and provide that expert status. You know, there comes an age where parents' words become so like, it's just like a music. It's like a song you've heard 100 times. Even if there's a couple different words in that song, the kids are just like, I've heard that tune. Like, oh my gosh, that's been overplayed so much. I know that so well that they really can't listen to it with fresh ears. And other adults can come and say the exact same things that the parents say. And the kid's like, oh, wow, brilliant. She's so smart. So as life coaches, this is a challenge for us as well. But that's why it's so great to like start, you know, kind of putting your attention on other people's children. Other adults are great for seeing teens as independent people. We don't know who they were until they came to us for this workshop. And that is so great. They crave that. They want to be seen with fresh eyes. They're trying to explore who they are as separate from who they've been, and we can provide that for them. We can help them bond with other girls this age. I totally underestimated how much girls wanted that. And then on the feedback I would get, they'd say, my favorite thing was making new friends. You know, the best part of this was my friendships. And I'm like, hey, what about all those awesome lessons I provided? Like, I gave you some good stuff. And all you wanted was make friends. But they really do. They don't know how to create new bonds with girls. And when we can facilitate for them, we're giving them what they need the most. And teaching important social and emotional skills in a way that girls can receive. Teachers, life coaches, counselors, you know, people who actually enjoy hanging out with girls, we should be doing this. We are the ones. And now is our time. I really believe that strongly. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to ask me? No, you guys are all muted. Any comments? Any feedback? I know my voice gets old. It's okay. I can handle it. Okay, I'll keep going. So Getting What You Want is the name of the summer camp that I made up, the workshop. I wanted it to appeal to girls, you know, and I wanted to call it something that they're like, oh yeah, I want to get what I want. So that's how I came up with the name. How to know what you want versus what everyone else wants for you or what you think you should want. Because this is the age when they're getting so many messages. They're very clear on what their parents want for them. And they start to become really aware of what they're supposed to want from their friends, the media, the teachers are telling them what they should want. And how, with all that noise coming in, how do you know what you want? what's right for you when everybody else's voices are so loud. So this is how we start, and this is in Austin, this is how we will also start our workshop there, is how do you know? What are the signs that your like inner guidance system, your inner GPS is telling you? And how do you know like what to tune into and listen to? And then once you've figured out what you want, how do you get it? So we do, and we'll do this in Austin as well, some goal setting games. You know, we'll play this game. There's this one that my friend taught me. I really liked it. No, a girl taught me this one. One of my summer camp girls taught me this one. And I've picked up so many things from so many different places. But all the girls get onto this, like a blanket or a tarp. And I said, so we'll play this in Austin. And then you write down a goal. It could be any goal that you want to accomplish. I want to get straight A's. I want to pop my time on the swim team, whatever. I want to have a boyfriend. I love looking at the girls' goals. So then you put it out of reach, and then you play this. So you lay down and you put it above your head, and then you have to figure out how to get it without getting off the blanket. And what the girls figure out is they can't get it unless they work together. And they have to hold each other's hands while one person leans way far over, and the other girls have to hold her upright. And so they figure out how everybody can get their goals. And then afterwards, we reflect on it and say, okay, how does this game help you on, like with real life and accomplishing your goals? What did you learn about accomplishing your goals from this game by, that you can apply in your life? Well, that sometimes you need to ask for help. And sometimes you can watch other people do it to know how to do it yourself. And so you kind of use the game to then reflect. Okay, so that's just one example of things we're going to do in Austin. Here you can see the girls are doing their vision boards, and I teach them how to listen to your body. How does your body say yes, and how your body says no? That is the simplest, clearest way to know what you want, is when I look at this picture. Does our body say yes? Does our body say no? When I look back on my school year, as an 8th grader, what did that year tell me that I want more of and I want less of? What did this friendship drama I dealt with this year tell me I want more of or yes or less of? How does my body say yes to one friend and no to other? And really tuning into the body, listening to the intuition. And then understand what gets in your way. Why is it hard to listen to that? And we'll play some games. I get so excited, you guys. Okay, I gotta keep moving. Hopefully you watch the recording and see my slides, and I'll be easier to follow. Okay. 5 mistakes that I have made when it comes to teaching girls. I would say the first and biggest mistake was I was so afraid of feedback. Like I said, I have this high need for everybody to like me. I've coached myself on it. But it's this, I wanted feedback, and I would ask them to write it down, but then I wouldn't look at it for 6 months because I was afraid of negativity. And I was equating them liking me with actual ideas and feedback and changes for how to improve the camp. And I've been doing this with my sex ed classes and, the summer camp girls. And I realized that the best ideas have come from the feedback. Once I can separate out that they can like me and have ideas of how the camp can improve, it's great. And I get new ideas from the parents in my sex ed class, of what they would have liked more of, or what they think the girls are experiencing now that maybe they weren't 5 years ago. And it's really helping me constantly evolve and change as far as what the kids are experiencing and what their needs are. It's just been so helpful. So my second mistake that I've made is being too rigid with my agenda. I've really learned, when something's going well and you can see the girls are really into it, or when somebody opens up and starts to say, what do I do when friends confide in me that they are cutting themselves or they are depressed or, something that's really major, that you really want to allow time for that and be very fluid in your agenda. Number 3 is not respecting the girls. Oh, I said 5 mistakes and I realized I wrote 6. Oh, wow. Not respecting the girls when it comes to grade level. Oh my gosh. And self-disclosure. Okay. So this is, this is funny. So girls are really sensitive. A 14-year-old does not want to hang out in the room with a 12-year-old, right? A freshman in high school does not want to hang out with a 7th grader. And in my adult mind, I'm like, oh my God, it's 2 years, big whoop. I don't care. You girls can suck it up. But one year I had these sisters, and well, they were twins. They're both the same age, and they were the oldest in the group. And oh my gosh, did they weigh down the other girls in the group. They just felt like they were too old to be there. And granted, they were more mature, like physically farther into puberty and stuff. And so, and they really, you could feel their separateness. And so the group had a really hard time bonding and gelling. And so from that time on, I was like, okay, I will respect that it's really about grade level, even more than age. That an incoming freshman wants to hang out with other incoming freshmen. Even if they're going to different schools, they really seem to like that. Sometimes girls have connected and, oh my God, we're both going to the same school next year. That's so cool. But to really respect that stage of life, even though it might seem silly to me because they're really not that different, or they could be like, it's so, like you could be at different grades. You could have a 6th grader and an 8th grader, but puberty might make the 6th grader more mature than the 8th grader. So that's why I was arguing with this instead of just allowing it to be so. And now I respect it and I say, okay, you know, incoming 8th graders can come on this week and incoming freshmen can come on this week. And I just really make it more grade level. And I might have an age range, but I've learned to respect that. And same with self-disclosure, that these girls do not want to talk about their feelings and open up until they feel safe and comfortable. And so I have learned that it's not necessarily easy. Sometimes it is easy. I had this one time, I had this girl who was, I want to say the first, I don't know, maybe half an hour of the summer camp. She announces to the group, I really like this. This is fun. And you could see physically everyone else's energy just calm down and relax and click. They gelled for the rest of the time. They had so much fun. They admitted that they liked the camp. They were so great. And I thought, God, can this girl come to every camp I have? She really led this group of girls. But sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes they're all super shy and hesitant. And then you can, it is palatable, the energy, when one girl opens up or one girl admits she likes it and you can see it. But sometimes you don't get that. So I have learned to facilitate that for them. And we'll do that in Austin too with the games. That's what the games are all about, slowly, gradually getting them more and more comfortable. Another mistake is trying to figure out all ahead of time instead of just experimenting. You know, I just did a lot of assuming, oh, they won't want to do that, or they'll love this, or they kind of getting into their business, you know, rather than just throwing it out there and trying. The 5th mistake I made was putting too much value on my lesson plans and thinking that was the greatest part of the camp. And I do love my lesson plans. I think they're great. But what the girls valued more than that was 2 things. One, the friendships that I helped them facilitate making. And 2, the environment that I created. The non-judgmental environment was, they all mentioned on the evaluations, was like their favorite part of like, oh, I can just be me. And it's so relaxing. And I just feel like, you know, I loved that safe environment. I don't know how they worded it. I don't think they said safe environment, but non-judgmental. I felt like I could be myself. I felt like I could say anything and it was okay. I could do anything, it was okay. And that creating that field was so much more valuable than what the words were I was saying in the field. And then I made the mistake of using the words life coaching in my marketing to girls. 7 lessons that I have learned through teaching girls. And like I said, I've taught, you know, I didn't tell you that, but I taught teen moms pregnant teens and teen moms who really were a tough crowd. You know, I thought, oh my gosh, they're all having babies at the same time. They're all in high school. They're just going to bond over this. They're going to think, oh my God, this is so great. We're having babies together. Of course, they've got a natural connection. No, that's me assuming too much and not just experimenting, because I found they were very closed off and like, well, I'm not going to be, they were still teenagers. So like, I'm not going to be friends with her. You know, she's Mexican or whatever. Like they were racist and they were classist. And they're like, you know, well, you know, her, you know, she's living with her boyfriend. So therefore she's a sinner. And they're like, and like, you know, I'm living with my parents, therefore I'm better than her. Like it was so crazy, the judgments, and I just did not expect that. So, anyway, so that comes back to not assuming and just experimenting and trying. Okay, so the lessons I've learned is how much girls value female friendships, that really that is where they're at, and they just need help learning how to create that. 2, the non-judgmental environment is more important than the content. 3, putting the focus on me and what I can learn from my experiences automatically shifts these girls into emotional maturity. This was really eye-opening for me. That we do talk about how to have a conflict and how to, you know, the different ways that people tend to react when there's a fight going on or somebody doesn't like you. And we do take a look at that, and we'll do that in Austin as well. And whether you're avoidance of conflict is your way of coping, or you're pushing, you're like, I'm not gonna let anyone push me around, I'm gonna get my way no matter what. And then the middle ground is being this assertive of asking for what you want with clear self-respect and respect for others. So we kind of practice that with the girls, and we'll do it in Austin. But what I didn't realize is that when you just do this simple exercise of what did I learn from this argument or this conflict about me and what I want more of in my life and what I want less of, that when you do that, it automatically diffuses the emotional angst. That it's not about my friends, she was mean and she was a bully and she shouldn't have said this to me, and that teacher was rude and she disrespected me and blah, blah, blah. They can get so focused on it. They need to change. That when you just take it and go, oh, what was that telling me? And here's the universe sending me all these messages and these lessons about who I'm meant to be, what my body says yes to, what my body says no to, what I want more of. That really every experience I have is here to inform me, to learn more about me. That you don't have to talk about bullying and friendship dramas and conflict, because that just switches gears automatically. Anyways, I'm excited. It's awesome. Do it. Okay, number 4 lesson. Parents are more likely to spend money on their kids than themselves. I offered a workshop for parents, and I was pulling teeth. I offer a workshop for girls, and parents are throwing money at me. They're like, please take my daughter for a week. She needs this. You know, it's easier for, just like kids could probably sign their parents up for a class. It's easier for parents to say, oh yeah, this would be really great for my kid. And parents are more likely to do it. They're used to signing them up for camps and classes and spending, but they're not used to spending money on themselves, you know, like, oh, I want to go to, you know, Austin for 3 days and play with other moms. That sounds like fun. That's a little trickier. But to sign their daughter up and to take her for a weekend, you know, or a week or a day or an hour after school, whatever, they're like, yeah, awesome. So good to know. That my next lesson I've learned is that mistakes are magical opportunities. These girls, without even realizing it, are swimming in perfectionism. It's part of the culture in which at least my people are. I'm out here in California, outside San Francisco, in a pretty, you know, kind of a upper middle class area, I would say. And we don't even know, but we're sending them subconsciously this idea that they're supposed to do everything right, that they shouldn't have problems with their friendships, they shouldn't have problems with their grades, they should excel at sports, they should, you know, be outgoing, and they should be involved in all this stuff. And they pick up from that there's no room for mistakes. So when we make mistakes in front of them and we're like, whoops, that didn't work. Oh, well, let's move on. It is magical for them. They love to see it happening. So next one. Mother-daughter events are a great way to sell your girls-only events. The moms are the ones typically are going to sign their daughters up. Sometimes you'll have girls who are interested. I get all of my teenage life coaching clients requested, life coaching. It wasn't the parents who signed them up. It was the girl saying, I want someone to talk to, and I want to talk to Tori, because they knew me from my sex ed class. So, but most of the time, the moms are the ones saying, oh, that sounds like fun. I want to sign my daughter up for that. So try doing like a mother-daughter event, or like, I do with my sex ed. The parents get to watch me, get to know me. So then when comes time for girls only, they're like, oh yeah, I'm all in. And then I've also learned from teaching these classes that marketing is tricky, because you have to market your sales page or your flyers or whatever you're creating, your brochures, to both parents and to girls. So what I do is I write the web page geared towards parents, and then I will email a flyer that's geared towards girls. So the girl flyer is way more like fun and casual. And the parents' web page, if you want to see it, you can go to, it's lifecoachingforparents.com/classes/getting what you want. Or it just says up at top classes, then drop down to summer camp. And the parents one is more of like, kind of fear-based. Triggering those like worries that parents have. My daughter's an adolescent. She's got all these decisions to make. How can I help her make good decisions? And you'll see I'm kind of clever in the way I get parents to sign up. But the pictures show the girls, it looks like fun. It's casual, smiling. It's not too serious. But the parents get kind of some marketing too. Any questions about marketing your camp? Anything that's sparking ideas? Anybody just want to say hi and tell me you're still there?
Hi, I'm still here.
I'm so glad. Yes, I can. Do you have any questions or anything?
I have a question.
Awesome.
So, because I don't have a teacher's degree or a degree in psychology, how do I market myself with expressing that I have a certification in life coaching?
Yeah, I think through like evidence and experience, like giving parents an experience ahead of time so that they get to know you. So you could do a free call or free webinar like I'm doing. I got a lot of really good feedback I teach the girls this, the different stages of social and emotional development. I don't know if you didn't see the last call, right? Because I just met you yesterday. No. Okay, so on the last call I did on the 5 life lessons girls learn. First, I went through an overview of kind of normal social and emotional stages that girls go through. And what that does is it kind of establishes you an expert in the field and saying, I understand. And parents will watch that and go, oh, I remember my daughter experiencing that. And oh, yeah, she's totally in that stage now. And I got a lot of great feedback from parents saying they really like that. They're going to show it to their daughters. And the girls like it too, because they like, oh, I'm normal. They get that normal feeling. And that what they're experiencing is not necessarily personal, that it's really just a normal stage of development. So that's when we're doing free calls, free webinars, showing and giving them like ahead of time, like this is the kind of stuff that we're going to teach. So like if you have I have like a values exercise that I do. And so I can email that out to parents and say, here, try this at home with your daughters, figure out what your values are, what she can figure out her values are, and then talk about, are they the same? Are they different? And, things like that, you can kind of show them ahead of time, examples of what you'll be teaching. I think that's all the marketing they really need. I've never had anybody, maybe life coaches want to know like from whom I'm certified, but really so much is more of your energy that you bring to it and your confidence. And then the things, just like with the girls, that the content is not as important as the field you create it's the same thing. You want to give parents an experience of being with you in that non-judgmental way. And so when they can see that you can, talk about topics that might be sensitive to some people, but you don't get any weird emotional immaturity, or they could tell you don't have an agenda, but it's really important, that really is, this is just about learning and curiosity and, what do you take away from it? Then this is what your daughters will, are going to come home with. But saying, we're going to present this in this way, play this game, teach this lesson, and then, what did you take away from it? And that's why it's great to do that, like to have moms either on the phone or on the computer or in person, because they'll experience it for themselves and be like, oh yeah, I can think of a conflict I had with my daughter and how I can use this to help me resolve that, Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes, actually it does. Thank you.
Any other questions? That's a good one. How do I market myself? But it's just that ahead of time. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit. I want to tell you about this Austin training event because it's kind of hard. I found it hard for me to market because it's a little bit of both. It is a girls leadership workshop that I'm teaching for adults instead of girls. I'm teaching it for life coaches or parents or youth group leaders who want to work with girls. And so really I'm going to be teaching it as though you're girls attending my workshop, but then so that you can use the curriculum and integrate it and learn it. I'm going to walk you through it experientially. And then we'll reflect afterwards, just like I would with the girls. But in our reflection time, you might say, oh, I can see how I could use this with younger girls or older girls, or, or ask questions about it as that teacher rather than as that, girl. So it's going to be a very experiential, hands-on workshop, but then you get to go home with the curriculum binder, which will detail the supplies that you'll need to do this art project or this game, and discussion questions that you can ask the girls that maybe I asked there to help, facilitate that discussion. So this mastermind training event is for anyone who wants to teach social emotional intelligence skills to girls. I mean, it's really what's about conflict resolution, but it's also life coachy stuff. And you don't have to use it. You can use it to teach anything you want. But the stuff I will be teaching is how to know what I want versus what everybody else wants for me, and then how to get it. So that's my kind of emphasis. And you can take the games and the workshops that are all about building community and bonding and getting girls to open up and self-disclose. You can use that towards an event or a topic that might be slightly different, and that's perfectly okay. So you will get lesson plans, games, activities, and all in a binder with permission to use them. You will actually make your own vision journal while you're there. So it's like a vision boarding workshop to give you insight into what you want and how you can go about getting it. But what's next for me? That's what the vision boards are so great for, is what do I feel coming up for me next? What am I yearning for? And the vision boards are, when we use that to listen how my body says yes and how my body says no, and to listen to that intuition. You'll also get 2 follow-up calls with me afterwards, just one-on-one, so that we can kind of brainstorm for you specifically, and like how you'd like to use this curriculum, how you can kind of start, maybe find a facility that you'd like to teach it in, how to market it, ideas to get clear on, how you want to sell it, whatever you want to use it for. Coaching, maybe you're like, afraid to make a mistake or embarrassed if you have any of those. Like I'm a big fear person. So for me, it always shows up as fear, but maybe for you, it shows up as something else. You can coach on that. So the first day of the Launching Girl Leaders workshop in Austin, it starts Sunday afternoon, 1:30 to 5. And the reason for this is because Martha Beck is hosting a workshop on the weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday, or Friday night, I guess, to Sunday morning. And so I'm starting mine when hers ends. So that's why it's this weird Sunday to Tuesday thing, is because I wanted to give life coaches attending Martha Beck's gathering a chance to come in. Everybody's welcome to Martha Beck's gathering. So if you're interested, you can go to a gathering of wayfinders, and I'll send you the link if you want, and check it out. So we're going to do on Sunday, we'll do the icebreaker activities. We'll do those things that warm up and bond. And it's, we start off really easy and light, with fun things. We stand, I'll have all the girls stand in a circle according to their birth date, but without talking. And so they can't talk. So this is a great starting point, because they don't know who everybody else is. They're nervous. They don't have to talk, and they just use sign language and face expressions and numbers on their hands. And they have to kind of sit in order of their birth dates throughout the year. Or sometimes I'll have them do their last names alphabetically. And so this is kind of a warm up. And then we'll do other things like cross the line. You've probably heard of the cross the line game. Maybe not. You draw a line and you say, cross the line if you like to eat, bananas with peanut butter. And then you cross the line. Everybody for whom that's true crosses the line. And you start off with really easy things. Cross the line if PE is your favorite class at school, and cross back. So things that people would not normally be embarrassed about, but then you kind of get more intimate. Cross the line if you struggle with your friendships, and cross the line if you've ever given someone the silent treatment. Cross the line if you ever received the silent treatment. And so we kind of just slowly get into more and more personal things. And so things like that we'll do. And so you can kind of see how we gradually get more and more, I want to use the word intimate, but comfortable and relaxed in a very just easy way. So some games are fun, some games are a little more serious, but they're all geared towards the same idea of getting these girls to relax and feel safe together. The third thing is I'll talk about the perspective of my philosophy of kind of life. I tell you are unique, just like everybody else. And that the universe is constantly sending you signs of who you're meant to be. And really, your only job here on this planet is not to get A's and not to keep your room clean, but to figure out who am I meant to be, and then start about doing that. That's kind of that life coaching philosophy. And it really helps the girls relax. Instead of feeling like they have to be perfect or solve everyone else's problems, it really is like, oh, that's it. And that's what we're going to be doing here. All I have to do is listen to my own intuition and learn how that communicates with me. So that's what we're going to be doing. Again, little activities, how to know what you want. And then afterwards, we're going to have drinks and appetizers hosted by the Marriott. So then we can socialize as adults and life coaches. But one of the games that the girls love, and this is the kind of thing that surprised me, like I said, just experiment, don't assume, is we play this game where you're talking about how do you listen to the signs of the universe? Well, they're very subtle. They're not screaming in your ear. And it's not going to be obvious to you. When you're learning to listen, it's very quiet. And so one of the things we do is I have one girl sit in a chair and close her eyes. And then another girl stands somewhere around her in her vicinity. And the girl with her eyes closed sitting in the chair points to where she thinks the person is. And she's just feeling her energy, or maybe hearing a step on a leaf or something, where she can kind of just use her other senses other than her vision to figure out where this person is. She just points. And then some people are freakishly good at this, and some people are horrible at it. But the idea is to listen and to really tune into all those other senses that aren't so obvious. And when they're good, then I have them step further and further away and try and make it harder for themselves. And if they're not so good at it, then they step closer, or I'll have the person standing kind of push their energy towards them and like put their hands right near their face. And it's funny. It's really funny. And they love it. But then we kind of afterwards will reflect on, okay, so you were great at that. What do you make that mean about you? And if you weren't good at it, what do you make that mean about you? That you get to decide. Like if you're going to make that mean like, oh, I'm terrible. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do in my life, or I must have done it wrong. I'm stupid. And here's this, you have this opportunity to be your own best friend or your own inner mean girl. And it's always up to you. And so really teaching them, and I'll be teaching this during my workshop too, of how to notice whether you're being your own inner mean girl or your own best friend, because this is the age it starts. This is when girls start picking up on some kind of subtlety. You know, their friend doesn't text them back. Oh my gosh, she's mad at me. I must have said something wrong. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? I made a mistake. This is the age it starts. Or my friend texted me back, something's up with that. That's weird. I notice that that feels off to me, but I don't know why. And so I don't want to assume that I'm a horrible person or I did something wrong, because that doesn't feel good to me. So instead, I can ask her, stay in my own business. Basically, I can ask her, hey, you didn't text me back. Is there any reason why? Oh, I just forgot. Or, oh, I wasn't feeling good. Or I had a crappy day. Or my mom took my phone away. And, oh, okay. Then, how to be your own best friend when you sense that something is amiss, because that is happening all the time. 14 is the peak age for being able to pick up on those subtleties of something's off with that person. And that's the age we start making it mean terrible things about us. So we teach that. Day 2 of Launching Girls Leaders is 9 to 5. This is Monday, April 20th. I said 27th, but I'm not sure that's right. Okay, don't hold me to the date. I think I did, because I originally wrote it wrong and then I think I changed it. So maybe it is correct. This is the day we're going to do our vision board activity, our art activity, and we're going to talk to the pictures and ask them, what is it you're trying to teach me? Who am I meant to be? Learning to accept and appreciate ourselves is huge. Building emotional intelligence and mind mastery. How do we sit in the driver's seat of our brain and steer it where we want it to go? We're going to be doing goal setting games and activities. And then we'll talk a little bit about what gets in the way for teenage girls. So we are going to talk a little about teenage girls, even though the room is full of adults. The obstacles that might keep them. Day 3 of Launching Girl Leaders is just, I didn't write the date here. It's the 28th. Okay, now I want to find out for sure. Where's my calendar? I'm feeling hesitant. Does anybody have a calendar in front of them and they can tell me?
I thought it was the 24th through the 26th.
That sounds better. Thank you. See, that's that nagging voice that I have in my head, right? Of like, this isn't quite right. Yeah, it's the 26th is the Tuesday.
Yes.
Thank you. And this is the kind of thing that I'm saying that girls love to see us make mistakes. and it's so good to like, how do you bounce back from that? How do we handle it? And that's really helpful for them. So that was Tuesday, April 26th. Oh, you're back and muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And this one is, I believe it's 9 to noon. So Tuesday morning, we'll do some energy games. Like the girls are so tuned into it. They don't even know, they just don't have a name to put on it. And so we'll talk about how, like, I call it like creating sisterhood, that really we all impact each other. We're not as separate as we think. And when someone else is having a bad day, we can feel that. And how can we uplift our friends and make other people feel better when they're in a bad mood? And really helping kind of create that sisterhood. And we'll play around with the energy a little bit. How we handle conflict and obstacles, whether our conflict resolution style. Oh, what gets in the way? I wrote it twice. From accomplishing our goals. Okay, so that's kind of the 3-day Austin. That's pretty much the Getting What You Want curriculum in a condensed short version for adults. So we might not get to everything, but I will at least give you, we might not get to do everything, but I will give you the curriculum so that you can do everything. So we'll do the ones that are hardest to explain over the internet and on paper. That's my intention. That's why I need to do the in-person event, because it's really something you need to do. And then everything else that is self-explanatory, I'll give you on paper or on an online class. So the Austin details, it's $499 with a $100 deposit to hold your spot. To put that deposit down, you can register at lifecoachingforparents.com/Austin. And there's a registration form there with a button to leave the deposit. If it's $50 off for you if you sign up with a friend. And there's discounted hotel rooms available at the JW Marriott on that same webpage, lifecoachingforparents.com/Austin. And I just want to remind you that you could make this much by hosting one of these workshops. I have 12 girls in my house. I make $2,000 in 1 week. I mean, it's a really easy thing to make $500. You could do that in a 1-day Saturday workshop and pay for itself. So just keeping in mind that, sometimes it's hard for us to think, I have to pay for a hotel room and a flight, and that's so much money. But you're learning how to make money at something that parents really want to spend money on. They're highly motivated. They can tell their daughters need help with social and emotional learning at these ages. And they often wish they could take it themselves. Sometimes the parents are more excited than the girls are. So again, do you have any questions for me about the Austin event, or about creating your own workshop for girls, or marketing questions, anything like that? Feel free to unmute and ask away. I wrote some questions down here that I gotten of like what kinds of games that you play. Really the intention is to get them bonded, to get them to be silly with each other. And we'll play silly games, and you'll feel that, like, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to do that, But we'll start off gradually, and then, so let's say it's like walk across the circle. You're like, okay, that's pretty low risk. I can handle that. And then walk across the circle, twirling. Okay, a little bit more embarrassing, a little more risky, but I'll do it. And then walk across the circle, twirling while making a sound. You're like, but I'm a grown-up. But what it does is it breaks down those barriers. It shows that connection comes from risking embarrassment, vulnerability, and that afterwards, when you've seen everybody else kind of risk a little bit about themselves, a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of silliness, that you feel more bonded and closer with each other. But then we'll also be doing some games that teach a lesson. So like I have this goal setting obstacle course that we do where we put our goals in this bucket, and then you have bungee cords, and you have to work as a team. You have to figure it out, how to move the bucket across through this obstacle course. And I have all these questions that I ask while the girls are trying to do it. And it's crazy how similar it is to real life. So they're trying to figure this thing out, and they're not allowed to touch the bucket. They have to use the bungee cords. And so I'll ask questions like, well, in real life, if you're trying to figure something out or solve a problem and you can't figure it out, what would you do? I'm like, well, I would ask for help. Okay, well, why don't you try that? Or I would, I have an idea, you have an idea and your teammates aren't listening to you. In real life, what would you do? And so it's kind of you use the game as the teaching method both at the same time. And then in real life, when you have an idea you think it's going to work and then you find out it doesn't, how do you bounce back from that? How do you just give up? No, you try again. Okay, try something different. And so you kind of get the girls really thinking and as far as their real life problems while playing a game. So it's just, honest, for me, it's my favorite way to learn, and which is why I think in some ways I'm still a teenage girl. The next question is, will I need to bring anything to Austin? Not really. I'm going to provide all the supplies, the art supplies, the curriculum binder, notebooks. You can bring a camera. Take pictures is probably a good idea. But yeah, I can't think of anything you would need to bring. And you'll go home with stuff, so leave a little room in your suitcase. If anybody wants to share a hotel room in Austin, email me and I'll see if I can connect you with someone else who's looking to share. And I host my workshops in my summer camps. I host in my home because we have a big backyard with a swimming pool, and it's very conducive to play for girls. So it's a nice place, but not everybody has that. I also rent out a room. It's an after school youth program on the campus of a middle school. And but there's lots of, you could do it in a hotel room. You could rent out. There's so many places that aren't being used in the summertime or weekends that you could rent out. So if you're feeling like, okay, I'm ready to do a workshop, but I need to think about facilities, then you can use your phone call with me and we could talk about that. So again, my name is Tori Henderson. I'm so excited to have you guys join me. I just feel like you are my pals. Like you share the same passions as I do. That's so fun. I'm out here alone in my house with my dog in the rainy day in Concord, California. And it's just so neat to feel connected with other people who share the same passions and want to do the same stuff. And I just feel like we should band together and share ideas and mastermind. So I really had fun with the interview series, and I hope you enjoy watching some of the interviews that are going to come to your email box with other people who are doing workshops for girls as well. If you have any questions, email me. It's lifecoachtori@gmail.com. Or even just to introduce yourself and say, hey, Tori, hey, I just want to connect and stay in touch. You can also go to lifecoachingforparents.com/Austin, and there's a button or a link to just fill out a short little registration form and submit your $100 deposit so that I can see you guys live and in person and play in Austin. And if you can't come to Austin, I understand, because that's tricky. It's a Sunday to Tuesday in April. But I still would love to stay in touch with you. And one of the questions I get the most is, am I going to be offering this again in another location? And I don't know yet. Right now, Austin is my main focus, and I don't have any plans to do it someplace else. But if you're on the mailing list, by Launching Girl Leaders list, then I will certainly let you know, and you will be the first ones to find out if I'm going to do it. All right. So if anybody has any questions before I stop the recording, let me know. And I'll hang on for a minute if you have questions after. Yes.
Okay. You had mentioned other life coaching, going to the seminar. You mentioned the name of someone that started a nonprofit.
Yes.
Can you email that to me?
Yeah, I will make sure you're getting the emails, because I did check and it did look like they were coming to you and that you opened to the emails. So it will come, but I'll see. It might not be for a couple of weeks. So if you were ready for that one now today because you're excited, I will send that to you straight away.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so if you want to work with nonprofits, and what we had talked about was that she does it during the school day and after schools. And so you're thinking, how can I get into schools? So I have an interview with, I think that's, some people want to do it that way instead of it through private practice. I also have an interview with someone who does it. She created her own I guess this girl created her own nonprofit too. But she does it in a third world country and helping girls there. So, and she uses jewelry making and other things with girls who are in trauma. So some people are interested in working with girls who are experiencing trauma. And all of the stuff that I'm teaching will definitely apply, because it's all that slowly, gradually getting them more and more comfortable with each other and creating that field where they feel safe and can have fun, because that's really important to girls, is that it's fun as well as, connecting and bonding, because they really want to bond with each other. So, so if you make sure you're signed up for Launching Girl Leaders, and if you feel like you're missing an email or so, because they'll come back every 5 days, the interviews, then I will, email that to you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Tori.
Hello.
Hi, Tori. This is Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Thank you so much for doing these calls. You've inspired me. I'm on the East Coast, and I think I might roll out a camp for girls in my town here. But I have a huge blizzard that comes up about liability. What do you do about liability? Do you do special insurance when you do these?
I do. So I have, well, when I do it in my home, I have homeowners insurance. So that's, handy. But I also have the liability insurance where, if someone trips on my electrical cord, then they, I have them sign a waiver, right? That they I won't sue you, that kind of, I don't know, it's called the I won't sue you form. Limited liability, that's what it's called. And then I also have, what's it called, Ways and Means insurance, where, because I teach sex ed, I thought this was helpful, because nothing I teach is controversial, but it covers my butt, because sex ed is a subject that people can get kind of funny about. And so I have
what's it called?
I think it's called
Ways and Means insurance.
Where if someone says, "Hey, you told me that if I used a condom, I wouldn't get pregnant," or whatever, I would never do it. But, or a mom says, "I, said something inappropriate to her child," or whatever, then I have insurance for that too. And I go through Hiscox, HISCOX.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'm going to look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I also teach yoga.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Insurance. I got it all. But yeah, it's a great question. I'm so
cool.
excited.
Yeah, thank you. This is great. Thanks for inspiring us.
Yeah, well, let me know how it goes, and as things go along.
I will. Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a place. I don't have a house that's big enough, and so I'm trying to find places in my community. But I'm really excited. I think I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, we have like great libraries here, but our rooms, you have to have an open door policy if you're going to rent them. And so anybody can just walk in and join. So I was like, okay, well that doesn't work, but something like a school where they're closed on the weekends and the summers, and schools will often they look for after school programs to offer. And so if you wanted to do it after school, they probably would help even advertise. For us in California, trying to advertise through the schools has been more, because, and even renting their rooms, there's so much liability and approvals that I don't even go through the public schools, but the private schools are much more willing.
That's a good idea.
Able to advertise for you and put flyers out, and they just don't have as much hoops to jump through. So the private ones are much better. Public is definitely a nightmare. You have the same situation there. It used to be easier, but
I met with the head of the guidance counselor for the division, and he basically just met with me just to say, "Okay, nice parent, I met with you."
pat you on the head,
little by little. Yeah, pat me on the head as I left.
Yeah, try private schools.
Yeah, I'll try them.
And public schools will find out about you. And you can also the Facebook page. We have Facebook pages for our local public schools. And so you can go on, and even though you're not a parent at that public school, you can like it and tell them, "Oh, I got this class, geared for your students," and just bypass use social media instead of the sending flyers. Oh, and flyers. Oh my God. So I've no longer just the hassle, and it's not worth the time and the printer ink. I just use digital social media. It's just so much more helpful.
Yeah. Perfect. This is awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely stay in touch. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions before I stop the recording?
Oh, yes, Deborah, keep me in touch. I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah, Patricia's on the East Coast too. You guys should hook up, talk about it. All right, well, I'm going to stop the recording. I'll be on for another minute, but thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys are staying warm out there on the East Coast.